boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. This is Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things 33 common sense lens. And heresy has been detected, ladies and gentlemen. And if I remember properly, if I can find a way to do it, which I probably won't, but needless to say, if I had the ability and if I remembered, I would put the whole little heresy detected for Warhammer 40k GIF right here. GIF, whatever you want to call it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there's some absolute Star Trek heresy getting spoken about out there in the world, ladies and gentlemen, because of all the sacred cows of all the Star Trek fandoms out there. I think the original series is probably regarded as the highest out there. It is the GOAT. It is the original. It is where everything came from. I mean, Kirk and Spock, you couldn't have gotten a better duo. And there were so many of us who generationally grew up on Star Trek, whether our parents watched it or not. You ended up catching it on television. I saw some of the original series growing up as a kid. I've seen a lot of Next Generation. You know, Deep Space Nine is wonderful. Voyager wasn't even that bad. It's one of those things. I literally grew up with this series and with this franchise. And ladies and gentlemen, after what we have seen come out of Kurtzman Trek and the absolute abominations that Paramount has vomited up, expecting us to consume, has been absolutely insane. And ladies and gentlemen, whether you like Strange New Worlds or not, at the end of the day, most people, I think, can agree it's not the traditional version of Trek. Well, considering the fact that they're using a lot of the original series characters out there, guess what kind of heresy they're talking about now? Because yes, ladies and gentlemen, in a time of absolute abysmal remakes, reboots, and every other kind of garbage that Hollywood likes to pump out, Star Trek sacrilege. Producers hint at the original series reboot no one wants. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and with the acquirement by Skydance by Skydance of Paramount coming up soon, they will have a cash infusion. Now, as to whether or not these people actually stick around in the Star Trek universe, it's only a matter of time before we find out. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, their plans have always been with Strange New Worlds to lead right into the original series. And now the question is to reboot it or not and continue on with their hot garbage, abysmal version of it, essentially erasing the original series, which I, for one, as a Star Trek fan, and just like many of you probably out there, will simply not stand for it. So we're going to check out this article from cosmicbook.news, getting all of the juicy details of exactly what these insane people have said. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2K over there on YouTube. We're climbing our way towards 2,100. I think we're at like 2028 or 2029 or something like that. And I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know what you think about this. Would you be okay? Are you one of the fans out there of Strange New Worlds? Would you be perfectly okay with those people? Would you trust them doing a reboot of the original series? Or are you just like 90% of the other Star Trek fans out there with a little bit of common sense who says this is absolute heresy and someone should get me a heavy flamer to erase this idea from anyone's mind and from the culture itself? Let us know what you think about all of that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. Think about becoming a member. We'll get us closer and closer to those 100 members. We need to keep the lights on around here indefinitely, and I would certainly appreciate that. All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, from cosmicbook.news and our dear sweet Matt Mugloin. If the producers of Strange New Worlds gets their way, Star Trek could boldly go where no fan wants it to, rebooting and effectively replacing the original series. And let's just go on record as of right now. As a Doctor Who fan who saw the Timeless Children go down, that is not canon. And even if they do pull this off, which I honestly don't think they will, if they do actually pull this off, I think the entire Trekkie fandom out there will be able to consider this not canon. Yeah, hashtag not my Kirk. Avitska Goldsman and Henry Alonzo Myers, already controversial figures in the Kurtzman-led Paramount era. Well, we thought Jar Jar Abrams was bad, right? At least he did a new timeline. Are now teasing what sounds like a remake of Star Trek, the original series. While rumors suggest a full reboot may happen once the Skydance merger goes through, Goldsman and Myers appear to be all in on a new take that could overwrite the iconic show created by Gene Roddenberry and starring William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. And let's just once again stop right there for a second. They will never, ever overshadow the genius of Gene Roddenberry or the original series. Simply not going to happen. Just like every other idiot we've seen in the past decade and much longer than that inside of Hollywood and the entertainment industry, they want to remake everything in their own image. They think they can be like the Most High. They think they are smarter, faster, and better than anyone that has ever come before them. And they will remake it in their own image. How did that work out in the comics? How did that work out for Marvel? How has that worked out for Star Trek over there with Kurtzman Trek? Yeah, needless to say, this garbage never works, and some things simply should never be touched, especially while William Shatner's still alive. Dude, absolute heresy, and I believe the captain would agree as well. At a recent panel for the Strange New World Season 3 premiere during the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, the producer just addressed the announcement that the series will end with a shortened 6-episode 5th season, conveniently lining up with the end of Kurtzman's contract and Skydance's expected takeover. Yeah, needless to say, methinks Mr. Kurtzman won't be sticking around very long at all. So yeah, needless to say, that's hopefully this isn't going to happen, but that is over. That is absolutely over. Avica Goldsman says Strange New Worlds was always meant to lead into the original series. See, they literally had this corrupt, insane plan right from the get-go. And remember, all of this is Kurtzman approved, ladies and gentlemen. He's the guy with the Kings of the Kingdom over there, even though it sounds like he's basically checked out, and he's got basically one foot at the door at this point. But literally, this is exactly what they did. They knew this all along. Their plan was always to reboot and remake Star Trek in their own image. They thought they could be like the Most High. Pride before the fall, after all. And hopefully with this Skydance merger, the fall is exactly what we will see of all of these people responsible for this abomination. So Goldman, who also worked on Discovery, Short Treks, and Picard, explained how Strange New Worlds has been gradually leading into the original series via Trek movie. We made a promise to ourselves that we would arc the show into Star Trek, the original series. And so we sort of thought, well, 5-year mission. Okay, can we do 5 years? Oh, poor dear God in heaven, I'm sorry that we are. And we're really doing almost 5. Well, 4 and a little more than half. Season 5 is for 6 episodes instead of the usual 10. And when did I know we brought this up a million times and beat this to a dead horse, but when did a season of television become 10 episodes? Oh, that's right. Streaming, because these people are a bunch of lazy hacks that have only ever done movies and can actually produce good serial television in any way, shape, or form. And we needed to be able to tell that story. Those are questions we knew we needed to answer and promised to answer. So that's our 5-year plan. With Strange New Worlds already featuring younger versions of the original series characters like Kirk, Spock, Uhura, Scotty, Chapel, and M'Benga, Goldsman hinted they might go even further. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they're not just going to have the series end on a little thing where now all of a sudden they're aboard the Enterprise. They're all in their positions. One classic shot. No. Not only are they intentionally trying to rewrite the entire history and canon of the original series' cast and crew out there, the original series' crew out there, yeah, they also want to go ahead and rewrite your beloved Star Trek, the original series. Isn't that going to be grand? You literally do not hate these people enough. I promise you that. You do not hate them enough. And as a Christian, hate is a very strong word, but holy God in heaven. Is it okay to hate the devil? Maybe. I would assume so. These people are doing the devil's work. They're literally embodying Satan himself, Lucifer the Fallen. They are literally embodying his same ego. So is it okay to hate them? I think so. I'll have to pray about it and make sure I feel really good about it. But needless to say, you don't hate these people enough. And then we run into the original theories, switching to a conspiratorial tone. But they're not dying, and we have those sets. That's right. They're not going to kill off the characters and their absolute abomination and rewrite of the original series' history and canon in every possible shape, way, and form they possibly can. No, that's right. That lovely little cartoon over there is going to lead it's going to lead right into the original series because they can remake it in their own image, boys and girls. They can be like the Most High. That line, we have the sets, all but spells it out. Goldman is clearly implying that a continuation or a reboot of the original Star Trek is on the table, likely as a cost-saving move. If they don't have to build new sets, they can churn out a reimagined the original series at a fraction of the cost. And here's a wild idea. Now, more of you Trekkie hardcore fans out there, and let me know in the comment section down below as to whether or not there was more of these enterprises, these particular types from the original series, because I love ships and all that kind of stuff, but I know there's some of you guys out there that are hardcore. So let me know out there that if there was more of these enterprises done. Because if that was the case, if there was multiple of the out there, which I assume there probably was, at least multiple variants and stuff like that, right? We saw some of that in some of the movies and things like that. If you've already got the original sets, then just redo the set a little bit, make it look slightly different, and just bring in a brand new crew and do a whole new series. And you could set it in that era. You could totally set it in the era and do a brand new story. But you can't do a brand new story, can you? You're creatively bankrupt beyond all belief. And yes, as the rewording of all of Tolkien's sayings put together, evil cannot create. It can only destroy and warp. And that's all you do. That's why every single joke, every single storyline we've seen come out of the modern Hollywood era is just literally a reboot, a retread. Hell, then what? Go watch the Naked Gun trailer for the new reboot of the classic Leslie Nielsen movies, right? Look at those jokes. 80% of them are something you saw in another movie or directly ripped off the original set of movies. That's all they've got. They're morons and literally embody Lucifer's ego. It's absolutely insane. Naturally, fan reaction hasn't been kind. I wonder why. As with much of the Kurtzman era Trek, longtime viewers aren't interested in seeing their favorite characters and stories rewritten or further butchered. The good news, there's always got to be a little bright spot, right? The good news, with Skydance taking over, there's hope for a more faithful, respectful take on Star Trek. Something closer to what fans actually want. With Transformers already on pause following its failures, which that's a video we'll get to later, Star Trek may follow suit. Strange New Worlds will get to wrap up, and Starfleet Academy still has 2 seasons in the pipeline. But after that, it's looking more and more likely that Kurtzman and crew will be out. And thank the Lord in heaven for that. Maybe then we can finally get something post-Picard instead of yet another remake. And wouldn't that be what nice to see? And I don't know what that kid's up to. I have no idea. What the guy that was responsible, and I can't, Terry Metalis, the guy that was responsible for Picard Season 3, which is the only one any fan out there says was decent or even halfway good at all. That's the one that everybody recommends to go watch if you're a Trek fan, any of that kind of stuff out there. But ladies and gentlemen, if they would hire that guy and give him, hey, here's brand new series, brand new crew. We're going to reuse some sets. You want to dress them up a little bit, but we're going to do this. We're going to do it like that. And that boy would run. He's a Star Trek fan. He would do great. I just don't know if there's anybody over at Skydance that is aware enough of that after the merger, that might be the smart thing to do. It would be the biggest slap in the face to Kurtzman you could ever possibly do. And God in heaven, would that be a beautiful thing to see? Because like I said earlier, you don't hate these people enough. And that's the thing about that. That's going to be the beauty part of it. We will have to see what happens because Skydance merger is coming. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about it before. All of these contracts are ending. All of these shows are ending. Star Trek is essentially canceled. It's going to be put on hiatus for at least a little bit of a time. They're going to have to figure out something else to do with it. They're going to have to find new people, new creatives. And let's pray to God in heaven almighty that nobody inside of Skydance is dumb enough to keep around these people that are currently in charge and running Strange New Worlds. Because if that happens, Skydance, if you try to reboot or redo the Star Trek, the original series, I promise you this, if there is any life left in the Star Trek franchise in any way, shape, or form, that will absolutely be the final death nail in it. And that will be something that will have to go on a generational pause, just like we're going to see from Doctor Who, just like we're going to see from a lot of these other franchises, just like it looks like we might see from Transformers as well. Because listening to these people and driving your pride before the fall is exactly what it will get you. And at the end of the day, this heresy cannot stand. So fans, make your voices heard loud and clear, and make sure Skydance is aware that you do not want this in any way, shape, or form, because your voice does matter. Fans decide what succeeds and what fails, not these idiots with agendas. And at the end of the day, the original series will always be the GOAT, boys and girls, and they will never be able to touch it. And I, for one, will not stand for this heresy. Someone get me my heavy flamer.